issue. I'm so delighted to be here with Congresswoman Salinas and Congressman Tran. It's such an important issue because it goes to the heart of privacy and freedom in the United States of America. All across the country, citizens have been witnessing the violation of basic civil rights. We've seen agents from ICE and CBP violating the right to speak, the right to protest, to peacefully protest. We've seen people detained without a warrant. We've seen doors knocked down and homes entered and families extracted without a warrant being secured. We have seen folks detained who have been denied the ability to have access to an attorney. We've seen them move from place to place with no information about where they're being hidden to prevent them from having access to attorney or access to family. All of this fundamental violation of our freedom has to come to an end. And that's why we're here today to address legislation that we're leading in our chambers, legislation that says there's going to be a personal right of action against agents that violate civil rights. Now, this is not an outlandish idea. This fundamental factor exists with local and state police. But federal agents, well, the Vice President described them as having absolute immunity. A militia roaming the country, violating civil rights, being granted absolute immunity. That is just wrong for everything we stand for. And that's why we're putting this bill together. I know I've been out to a lot of town halls this year and huge turnouts, and regular citizens are really disturbed, they're angry, they're offended by the violation of rights across our country. So I'm going to put an end to this and say accountability matters, and I am delighted to turn this over to Congresswoman Salinas.
Thank you, Senator Merkley, and thank you to Congressman Tran and Robert Simon, Cynthia Santiago, and the brave families who are sharing their stories with us today. Your courage is truly why we are here. We're here also because President Trump's immigration enforcers are violating our constitutional rights across this country. From Oregon to California to Minnesota, we've seen a pattern of abuse, overreach, and lawlessness by ICE and CBP. Just this past weekend, federal officials tear-gassed children, workers, and even dogs who were out protesting at the ICE facility in Portland. Today, we are demanding accountability for those abuses. In my district alone, ICE and CBP arrested and detained a 17-year-old American citizen from McMinnville. They arrested and denied due process to a wildland firefighter from Kaiser who was actively protecting communities from wildfires up in Washington. And just this week in Salem, ICE agents attacked my constituent Maria, a U.S. citizen that didn't stop ICE from pulling her over. They smashed in her car window, dragged her out, tearing her rotator cuff, and only then did they stand down while she was laying in the middle of the road, and she showed them her proof of citizenship. That's not public safety. That is abuse of power. And when there are no consequences, these violations will continue across the United States. That is why I'm so proud to be here to help introduce the ICE and CBP Constitutional Accountability Act. The bill is simple. If ICE or CBP officers violate someone's constitutional rights, the victim can sue the federal government to hold them civilly liable. If the court finds that ICE or CBP violated someone's rights, the damages awarded would be drawn first from the Republicans' big, ugly bill funds. Their bill handed more than $150 billion to ICE, CBP, and DHS, which Trump has used to implement this cruel enforcement campaign nationwide. By paying damages with the money from the one big, ugly bill, this helps us. It puts a check on ICE and CBP by going after the funds used to actually terrorize our communities with taxpayer dollars. Without accountability, there are no consequences. And without consequences, they will keep violating the Constitution. In America, nobody is above the law. Our communities should not have to live in fear of the very people sworn to protect them. Families deserve safety, workers deserve dignity, and every single person deserves their constitutional rights. Today, we say enough is enough. We choose justice, we choose accountability, and we will make sure to put an end to these abuses and that they never happen again. Thank you. And now I'd like to hand it over to my good friend and colleague, Congressman Tran.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Representative Derek Tran, and I proudly serve California's 45th Congressional District. I want to thank my distinguished colleagues, Senator Jeff Merkley and Representative Andrea Salinas, for their leadership in all of this. They saw the injustice that we're facing in front of our constituents, and they didn't wait. They didn't hesitate. They took action. And I'm so proud, so deeply proud to stand shoulder to shoulder with them in the fight to restore justice and accountability for all. We are here to introduce the ICE and CBP Constitutional Accountability Act. We were moved to introduce this legislation because if nothing changes, this administration will continue to terrorize our constituents and our communities. Rogue agents will violate the Constitution. Entire communities will live every day in fear. The stories that you are about to hear were brought to my attention by my dear friend, Attorney Bob Simon. We met as young lawyers fighting for justice in the courtroom, and Bob has been a steadfast ally to me when I brought the fight to Congress. I couldn't be prouder to welcome Bob and Cynthia Santiago to the Capitol Hill to speak truth to power. Many of you know my background. I grew up as the son of Vietnamese refugees. My parents fled communist government oppression. Journalists are jailed for telling the truth. Activists are beaten for daring to speak out. Fear for repression and reprisal was the norm in Vietnam. They risked everything to get away from that. They wanted their kids to live in freedom and to have the American dream. I'm here today because that dream is worth fighting for. The people that you're about to hear from are American citizens. They have been detained, shot at, and have been prevented from protecting their own family. This is not public safety. This is chaos. And it is time to rein in the chaos. I'd like to now welcome my very good friend, Attorney Bob Simon, to say a few words.
Thanks, brother. First, I want to thank my clients that are here, Daniel and Jonathan, both American citizens, both who did nothing wrong, who were shot at. Bullets in the side of the car where this teenager was sitting, and they were doing nothing wrong. Then we saw political propaganda immediately came out saying things that weren't true, that an agent was fearing for his life, and that's why he fired into the side of a car. Well, thankfully, they have cell phones. Our investigator canvassed the areas, and we found that the stories put out by this administration were not true. I, as a human being and a trial lawyer, I'm doing this mostly because I'm pissed off, and I think a lot of Americans are, that we are violating the rights of human beings and asking questions later. I'm honored to read this bill and see that this, for the first time, has accountability so that these agents know that you do not have absolute immunity. I believe in humanity over immunity. Transparency in this is going to be what we've always asked for. Wear the body cams, house them, let it be available to the public when these things happen. So if we do have these crazy rogue leftists beating up ICE agents, we want to see it. We don't want to be misled with misinformation. Thank you very much for letting me be here, and I want you to hear and listen to these stories, because all too often we are manipulated by media on both sides to tell us how we should think and how we should feel, and it is intentional. When we have these lawless things where people feel like they have absolute immunity, this is what happens. They feel like they can do whatever they want. We're seeing a nationwide thing right now with something under the mask of tort reform, where they're taking away victims' rights to medical care, victims' right to recovery, so more people in power can make more money and have more control. I'm in California currently. I grew up in Pittsburgh. I'm in California right now. We're running initiatives and propositions against Uber that are literally trying to take away access to medical care for people in car crashes. They'll spend hundreds of millions of dollars to do these things. Transparency and accountability, and I thank everybody up here so much for taking the path to accountability to let people know if you're doing an illegal search and seizure, if you're stopping people for the color of their skin or because they have an accent, if you're asking questions later, you will be held accountable. And as an American, we just want transparency and we want the rule of law to matter. Thank you. And I'm going to introduce you Cynthia Santiago, who's a world-class immigration lawyer who has gotten more people out of detention than anybody I've ever met. And it's hard to get a hold of her a lot because she's fighting the good fight always. So Cynthia, please come up here.
Thank you. My name is Cynthia Santiago. I have been practicing immigration law for 13 years with my own office. And in doing so, I'm an on-the-ground attorney. I'm an attorney that meets families after their loved one has been disappeared. The importance of these types of accountability bills and these types of transparency bills is that we need families to know that there's somebody watching their loved one, someone's there for their loved one when they're being disappeared from the corner of selling flowers or selling fruit or from their drive to work. We need families to also know that if ICE agents and CBP agents use violence and aggression, that they have some type of accountability, that there will be some type of repercussion for this excessive use of force and unlawfulness, because many of these stops are not targeted, they're not based on any justification or warrant, they're based on the person's skin color, the person's ethnicity, the person's appearance. And so what I'm seeing on the ground is that there's community members that are coming out and basically wanting to document this injustice and wanting to do what Americans do. We stand up for our rights, and unfortunately they're met with such aggression and excessive force. I represent, along with Bob, many individuals who have been shot at, who have been targeted and assaulted by these ICE officers, CBP officers, who are also going into our communities, making up rules and laws as they go and thinking that the public does not have these rights. And that's something that we must put an end to. We must hold them accountable for their actions. We must protect our children from seeing these things in our community. We must protect our families that are just trying to make a day of work and make their families, dreams come true. And instead, they're being met with aggression and violence in this reign of terror. And so thank you very much for all of you to present this bill. Thank you. I'll be introducing Jonathan, who is one of the victims in this incident.
My name is Jonathan Longoria. I'm a 19-year-old natural U.S. citizen born. On August 16, 2025, around 8 a.m., my dad Francisco, my sister's fiance Daniel, and I were on our way back home from delivering some orders from our party supply business. We were only a few minutes from our home when out of nowhere, a truck with no license plate, no sirens, no police marking, suddenly cut us off and blocked us in with two other unmarked cars behind us. Immediately after they blocked us in, 4 men in masks came out of the cars with their guns drawn and pointed at us. Walking towards our truck, they just started trying to open the car doors and hitting the windows. We asked them to identify themselves and say what they wanted, and they refused to answer. They just kept saying, open the doors or roll the windows down and get out. And we said no, because they had no warrant and we had no idea who they were. Suddenly, the agent by my dad's side shattered his window and punched him in the face. Then another agent broke the passenger side window right next to me. We were terrified and scared for our lives. My dad drove forward since there were no agents in front of the car. And after we had passed by them, the agents on the passenger side fired several shots at our truck, trying to kill us all, hitting the passenger side of the truck several times. My dad told me to call 911 and tell them what happened right after. Once we got home, San Bernardino Police Department officers came to our house and detained my dad, handcuffing him and talking to him in the squad car. After seeing that he had no criminal record, they let him back in the house and told us that FBI was on their way to find out what happened. As soon as the San Bernardino police officers left, two guys started walking to our gate and told us to let them in. We asked them who they were, and they said FBI, but they did not have no FBI uniform or markings. We asked them to identify themselves, and they said they were with DHS HSI. Homeland Security investigation, not FBI. But that for all intents and purpose, we are FBI. The agents were being pushy and aggressive, and after what had just happened, we did not want no HSI agents to come inside our house, so we told them they couldn't come in without a warrant. After that, more HSI agents started showing up to our house, and for the next 3 hours or so, they waited outside as more and more people came. Eventually, they decided to leave. Then on August 28, around 4 a.m., they came to our house, more than a dozen agents armed in tactical gear with assault rifles, night vision goggles, to arrest my dad. They broke 2 of our doors to get inside, even though they knew we had attorneys and could be contacted through them. They just broke the doors and all had their guns pointing at us, yelling us, although we aren't violent criminals. We were asking for them if they had a warrant, and finally they showed it to us and took my dad. All of this just to recognize them if they had a warrant, and finally they showed. All of this just to recognize my dad didn't do anything wrong and didn't hurt anyone, and dropped the charges a few weeks later. This entire experience was terrifying. These agents should not be violently and aggressively stopping people while wearing masks. In unmarked cars, no body cams, guns pointed at innocent people, and refusing to identify themselves. This administration says that they're only going for violent criminals, murderers, drug dealers, which we aren't. But we were treated like violent monsters. Now I'm scared that other cars on the street could be ICE agents going to attack us again. I'm scared that by speaking up, they will attack us again. Thank you.
Jonathan, thank you so much for sharing your story. It's so powerful because what happened to you and your family is happening to people all over this country. We're going to hear some other stories, but I just want to thank you for sharing that. And no one should go through this type of abuse here in the United States of America, where we have a Constitution, where we have rights, where we have a Fourth Amendment, and yet this administration is violating it every single day. And this type of oppression, it's like, it really is, secret police have come to the United States of America, and we have to put an end to it. And next, we have,
No, that's it.
do we have anyone else speaking?
We could take questions.
Are there any questions from the
Yeah.
audience?
If we have questions from the audience, you can take them now. This gentleman has a camera ready. Anybody want to ask a question? Sure, in the back.
Can you talk a little bit more about the bill and how this is different from the Democratic demands right now?
From the,
Demands of Democrats as part of the shutdown right now.
so, my hearing is not so good, so I think you said from the demands
How
of the.
is this bill different from the current demands that Democrats are
Oh.
asking?
Well, there are a whole list of things that are going wrong that we're hoping to negotiate and address. And one of the first is roving patrols have to end, going into sensitive places ranging from the courthouse to places of worship, to the schools, to the daycare. And let me also add the importance of polling places. We have seen the president comment just yesterday that he wants to nationalize the elections and have Republicans in charge of them. We see what he's doing in trying to set up a national voter registration database, the gerrymandering that he's been promoting all over the country to change the balance of power and make it disproportional to favor one party, out of sync with the way people have actually weighed in at the ballot box. We have seen his fierce opposition to vote by mail because he wants to manipulate the election on election day. I mean, there's so much else going on, but this is one piece of the puzzle that is so important in defending civil rights, and this bill puts a direct focus on it. And by doing it as a bill, not just a conversation piece, we're saying, let's pass this bill. Let's defend the civil rights of people across this nation.
Does the bill address election concerns?
Is it a...
Does it address election concerns? No.
No, it doesn't address election concerns directly. No, this is about civil rights being violated by ICE and by CBP.
Yeah, this
And
is it's a single issue
right.
bill. Reading it as a non-politician, it's like 4 or 5 pages, very to the point. And I think that's that's what we all want. We don't want other things added to it. You know, we're just fighting in the courtroom for these folks, but it's a single issue.
It does address elections in one way, and that is there's been threats that we may see CBP and ICE deployed as intimidators in an upcoming election. And so in that sense, if there's a violation of civil rights, that could certainly be connected to elections. Anything you all want to add? to that?
I'll just add that this actually fits in with the Congressional Hispanic Caucus list of demands, and so the one right at the top, suspend ICE and CBP immigration enforcement actions in Minnesota and warrantless stops, indiscriminate arrests and militarized tactics against civilians nationwide. And this directly impacts our Latino communities. And in a district as mine, where 22% are Latino, they're so afraid right now. And thank you again for your story. The 17-year-old I mentioned in McMinnville, his window was shattered. He was on a lunch break. 17-year-old citizen, they got glass in his eye. He was so fearful of everything that had happened and so traumatized, he wouldn't go to the doctor. He will not speak to anybody. It has been months, and he still has not been able to share his story. These are lingering impacts of our children right now. Kids are afraid. They're having nightmares and panic attacks. When somebody doesn't get to school, a friend doesn't come to school, they're fearful that they've been stolen and taken away from their community. This has to end.
Any other questions before we conclude here today? Sure.
So since the Republican Party is controlling most of the House, I'm just wondering how you guys plan to pass the bill.
You want to answer this one?
Sure.
I think it's a bipartisan bill. I don't think this is anything that's red or blue at all. If somebody votes against it, they're voting for green. That's my honest opinion.
Look, at the end of the day, what we can do is highlight these stories like what Jonathan shared and bring forth legislation that makes sense, not just on democratic values, but values as an American citizen. And I talked about my stories of my family and being oppressed in a communist regime. That's what we're seeing every single day out here. So I do agree with Attorney Bob Simon that this is a bipartisan issue where we see civil rights being affected on US citizens. They should have the remedy to go after these ICE and CBP officers.
You know, all over the world, we have witnessed secret police in action. Folks who show up without any individual identifier, agency identifier, face masks, coming all hours of the day, sometimes at night, knocking down doors, grabbing people, throwing them into unmarked vans, disappearing them, and denying access to an attorney. All of that is happening right here in the United States, right now, and anyone on any party who took an oath to the Constitution, which protects these rights, should be on this bill. Thank you all very much for coming today. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you again.
They protect you because these conservatives are going to come up inside, rather.
Yes, we did.
So Bob Simon here, we're coming live stream for Legal AF. We're going to interview Representative Derek Tran, who just introduced a very important bill on accountability for what's going on with the ICE administration. Derek, thank you so much for doing. Can you give us the why?
Thanks, Bob. I mean, the why is simple. When I see everyday Americans' rights being trampled on, we got to do something as legislators. And when our community is living in fear, like they have been living in, we got to make sure that we hit them back where it hurts, and that's in the pocketbooks by providing a common sense legislation where we allow for civil suits for these victims. It makes complete sense to me.
And can you give everybody an understanding of what the bill is, what it does, and you being a trial lawyer yourself from California in Orange County, just explain how it curbs this type of behavior.
Yeah, look, it provides for a civil pathway to sue the government for any First Amendment rights that our citizens are facing out there right now. If they're injured and by ICE or CBP officers wrongfully, they should be able to get redress for it.
So it's no immunity?
Essentially, yeah.
And Derek, you fought the good fight for a very long time as a practicing lawyer representing human beings. Can you explain how important it is whenever you're going up against a Goliath that says that they have immunities and there's no way they can be held accountable? How important it is to have a bill like this to be able to even set forth a cause of action to bring forward for humans?
Look, it's definitely not enough to stop everything that's going on, but we want to make sure that when these agents are making their stops, that they're doing it wisely and they're thinking about what their actions, right? And that's so important, and that's not what we're seeing today on the streets.
Yeah, and you coming from a communist regime, growing up, coming here to America, serving our country, you do a lot for, your community, but also, veterans in general. And I'm sure you've seen veterans be abused and taken advantage by this administration. How important is that to you?
Look, my parents came from an oppressive government, a communist government, and being in this country, I love this country. This is the best country in the world. And, I respect everyone's rights, but we got to make sure that those that does not have a voice, and that's what we do as trial lawyers, we give them that access to the courtroom, and we give them that ability to be heard, and that's so important.
Thank you. Hey, can we get a look at these shoes? Can we stream these? These are the nicest shoes. We actually saw some of the vote, and I'm so impressed. Like, very well done, my friend. He don't have the boots, so it's good. See that? Yeah. This is good. Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Bob. We appreciate it.
We're going to grab Representative Salinas. Oh, and Representative Ben.
Well, you want Andrea's here first.
Okay.
Yeah,
I love the jacket.
Thank you. I thought it was going to be cold today. You ready?
Yeah, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, to chase those conservative people with the cameras.
You did a good job.
Scare them out here. Shoot. I can answer those questions. Ready? Hey, Bob Simon coming here live for Legal AF, and we are live streaming this, and we just had a very important bill introduced by Representative Salinas out of Oregon. Can you explain to everybody your why you're doing this, and how it's affecting your community with 22% Latinos there?
Well, I think it comes from my story. Yes, my district is 22% Latino. I am a first-generation American. My dad came here with my grandparents to make a better life, and they did just that. There was no criminal activity, but they were never treated like my community members are being treated today. They never had to fear whether their government was going to come after them because of the color of their skin or the work that they did and take them away, disappear them, harm them physically, or murder them. This is what we are seeing today, and everybody has to know that, including American citizens. People's rights are being dismantled and taken from them. We give rights in America. That is what the Constitution is about. That's what, our Bill of Rights and all of our amendments are about, not taking them away. And right now they are indiscriminately, through executive fiat, taking them away. Not okay, not on my watch.
And how important is it for the actual uphold the Constitution and have the rule of law to you, and how does this bill affect exactly that?
Well, it's very simple. We are talking about protecting civil rights. We are a nation of laws. We will not function. There will be complete anarchy and dysfunction if this continues. And so making sure that we follow the law, we follow the Constitution, of which I took an oath, but so did those ICE officers, so did those CBP members, so did Donald Trump and Kristi Noem and everybody within that department. They took the same oath to that Constitution that said, protect First Amendment rights. People can go out and protest peacefully, make sure that people do have due process. None of this is being followed right now, and it is like I said, complete chaos and dysfunction, lawlessness, and unconstitutional, un-American activities.
And do you think that if you have a bill like this, if that ICE or CBP agent is out there, they're going to think about this and say, maybe I should think twice before just entering a home without a warrant or breaking somebody's window because they're brown or have an accent? Is this your hope with this bill, that they stop that behavior because they know at the end of the day, there's accountability?
100%. Their ass is going to be hauled in, and they're going to be questioned, and they're going to be asked. And then if the government gets sued, this could be hundreds of millions of dollars that people are saying, my constitutional rights were abused. I did not have due process, and I'm an American citizen. What's DHS, ICE going to do about this? Oh, maybe pay out from the one big beautiful bill, that $75 billion that Republicans gave them, and you're suddenly going to be at zero account balance and not be able to.
And I see some GoFundMe's happen for some.
That's right.
For some folks, and when you do a GoFundMe, that money could go to the survivor.
That's right.
Right. So keep donating to those GoFundMe's for these ICE agents because they'll need that money at some point.
They need attorneys right now. They need people like you who are standing up for their civil rights to say, hey, look, we can, let's get you through this. Let's get you out of detention. However, you are working with them. But absolutely. But what we need is a real consequence. And that's what this bill does. It places consequences on those abusing the law.
As a trial lawyer, we thank you. Thank you for putting forth this bill.
Thank you.
It was very nice meeting you.
Likewise.
Michael's gonna take it.
Oh, nice. He's gonna ask. Okay. I have one more. I have Dave in here. Is he going to do me first?
No, you do. We'll do whatever path you want to
Hey, how you
do.
doing?
Welcome
Mike,
to
can you hear? So Michael Popok from Legal AF is on. This is Representative Dave Mann.
How you doing?
You're
Hi,
in Minnesota, the shadow hearings?
I was, yeah.
Can you explain, Mike, he was at the shadow hearings in Minnesota recently. Can you explain kind of what you saw, what's going on?
Yeah, we heard so we were in a little bit of a bubble, so we didn't get out in the streets too much, but we heard from police, we heard from a number of people that had been illegally detained and arrested by ICE, including a U.S. citizen who had her window smashed in, dragged out of her car, separated from the person she was with. And one of the things she noted was that there was a section in the ICE detention facility she was at that said U.S. citizens. And so that means that there's a to detain U.S. citizens by ICE, completely illegal, but part of a broader pattern of lawlessness and criminality that we've seen over the last year. So we sent some letters last year to DHS, Inspector General, to Kristi Noem, asking some of the questions I think we all deserve answers to. Who are the people you're hiring? Do any of them have a history of violent criminal convictions? Do any of them have potential affiliations with extremist groups like the Proud Boys? We've gotten zero answers, and that reflects, of course, a larger contempt for the rule of law we've seen from Kristi Noem.
Mike's probably going to ask a question, but I've seen people leaving playing cards like the Ace of Spades, which we used to see in the gangs, LAPD gangs back in the day, and it's very unfortunate. So Mike, we can hear you. You want to ask a question?
Absolutely, Representative, thank you. What we want to get across to our audience is that there's two parts to this story, right? There's what you guys are doing, elected officials are doing with oversight, with funding oversight, and then we've got our audience who's watching, right? The crowds and the courage. What do you want our audience to know about how they can support your efforts and those of the elected officials?
Yeah, the great question. I just say keep going out there. Right now, they're trying to intimidate and scare us. One of the reasons I keep showing up to our protests in places like Newport Beach and Irvine is because we have to show right now that we are not going to fall to these tactics, even though it is sometimes very scary. And I realize that. I've been out there. Sometimes the atmosphere is a little bit contentious, and we've even seen people get murdered, obviously. But this is not normal. We cannot allow it to become normalized. And I just want to point out the obvious here. Punching someone in the face because you don't like their sign is a felony in every state in this country. Spraying pepper spray or bear mace at someone is a felony. And so these ICE agents are doing this thousands of times, hundreds of times. We've seen it well documented, and yet there's been zero accountability or investigations. We need that. But right now, obviously, the Department of Justice, DHS, they are sitting on their hands. They are lying about what's happening, including with Narciso Barranco, the father of 3 Marines in my district, who was seen punched in the head repeatedly by ICE agents. They accused him falsely of attacking the ICE agents. The gaslighting is real, but we need to stand up to it. Those crowds matter. The protests matter. Be peaceful, be nonviolent, but let's continue to be out there and show the Trump administration that the American people are not going to stand for this lawlessness.
This is a two-part process, right? The elected officials can't do it without the community, the crowds, the courage on the streets and peaceful protest, and they can't do what they're doing without what this representative and others are doing inside the halls of Congress.
That's right, and keep the pressure up. That's the other thing I'd say.
What I say, what we've seen on social media lately, is it does have power.
Yeah.
You're seeing a lot of people that have a voice that are using it to speak up, people like Legal AF to educate folks, and people are now having the courage to say something, to be loud about it. And what you can do if you're watching or listening, like, I'm a trial lawyer, I can fight my clients in the courtroom. What you can do, it actually makes a difference if you're calling your state and local representatives. And if you're an attorney general anywhere, you can be filing criminal charges. I see the district attorney in Philadelphia, and he's taking the right stance. If you're violating somebody and committing a felony, those agents should be held criminally liable. Bill, we talked about for civil liability, but every citizen has absolute power to do things, and you just have to let people know. And you can see the polling numbers. We can see what's happening. This is now a bipartisan issue, but you got to let them know about it.
Yeah, keep the pressure
and
on
we now have New Jersey, the governor of New Jersey, and the attorney general of New York setting up databases for the people on the streets, in the public, to videotape and upload videotape of encounters with ICE, with Border Patrol that go awry, that violate our civil liberties and our civil rights.
Yep, and the Oversight Committee, Democrats, I'm one of them. Here in Congress, we have also set up a website for people to submit those to. So let's keep that up. There's no statute of limitations for murder. The statute of limitations for violent felonies and assault is going to extend past this administration. So let's make sure that we're keeping names of everyone who's violated the law. And try to get some accountability, because these people right now think they're above the law. That cannot stand in America.
Yeah, and for civil, holding people civilly liable, you do have usually a 6-month window to file a federal torts claim act for a government liability. So criminal has no statute, but if you were wronged, you should find a lawyer immediately to at least preserve that, and that does add collective pressure. So I'd say put that in your arsenal.
And sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. No, please. You go.
I was going to say, Bob Simon is an excellent trial attorney. I was actually a juror on one of his early cases a while back.
He was juror number 1, and I can't believe they let a law professor on for so long.
Yeah.
We just had a federal judge yesterday, Judge Tostred in Minnesota, effectively say that the crime scene of Alex Preddy was corrupted, was polluted, evidence was likely destroyed, including he doesn't know where the gun is, and he left a message to civil plaintiffs lawyers like Bob, and I do that too, to bring that up to that court and argue for spoliation and destruction of evidence against the federal government in the civil suit that will come from the Preddy family. And that applies across the board. So just wanted to round that out with how federal courts are looking at what ICE and Border Patrol are doing on the streets and how they're dealing with it and inviting the civil suits to run parallel to the criminal ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know in Minneapolis, like Jazz Hampton, he's a lawyer, a friend of mine, civil rights lawyer. We almost talk daily about what's going on there. And he and people like Dylan White these lawyers are willing to fight in the civil realm as much as they can. And we need to have these two arms working together, because their hands are tied a lot of the time. We're not. We have 6 months after we file that as a civil lawyer, and then we can get to discovery, we get to the nitty gritty. And every time so far that's been happening, they just put their hands up, said, okay, we're done. We did something wrong, right? They don't want us to see behind the curtain. So we got to keep pressing, though. Got to keep pressing.
But a private right of action, as this bill would contemplate, is going to help. And we just need, when the government refuses to enforce the law against its own rogue agents, we need to expand who can enforce the law. And that's really what this bill and a whole bunch of others are about.
Yep. Thank you, Representative.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, Bob. Good to see you.
Been a while.
Yeah, maybe I'll see you tonight. Yeah.
Yeah.
You taking off tomorrow?
Yeah, tomorrow morning back together. But we are having the
Bourbon
Whiskey
approved.
Rebellion
I'll see if I
reception.
can stop by. Yeah. All right,
Stop by. We'll tell you the
you.
location if you're part
Thank
of
you.
the Cool Kids Club. Okay.
Yeah, juror number 1.
Juror number 1?
Yeah, that was a fun time. Hi.
All right.
Oh yeah, of course. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, hey, I wanted to, Mike, I want to introduce somebody else that's down here.
Sure.
This is Mike Popok with Legal AF. This is Cynthia Santiago. So she's the one that's on the streets every day I mean, Compton recently in Inglewood, she's in hospitals where they're trying to illegally detain people there. And she's doing the work. She's not home with her kids or her husband, and she's out in the streets a lot. So
Well,
she's
it's
actually
important.
the worst of the worst.
It's a thank you for joining us. Our Legal AF community wants to see put a name with a face, to know that there are Americans and patriots led by Bob and you who are doing this work right now. Because without your leadership, without what you're doing and bringing it to the American people, my audience would be left with just commentary and reporting on Legal AF. They got to hear you. They've got to see you. They want to be in the halls of Congress, literally the way we are right now on Legal AF with Bob Simon and all. So thank you for doing what you're doing. What's the number one takeaway from your observations today about what's happening? What do you want our audience to know?
Yeah, so I think that for last year, we didn't see a lot of leadership or a lot of folks coming out with bills and accountability and transparency things to this matter. And so I think that now we're starting to see how pissed off people are about what's happening in our communities. We're starting to see that recording does help because it gives us a face and an injustice, and it allows us to see what's really happening in our communities. And I think it really inspires other people to want to also stand up and raise their voice, which is an American thing to do.
Absolutely. I'll tell you, one thing our audience is always looking for is how they can get out of their couch, their armchair, their car, and get involved, not just be a passive observer. This is a participatory sport, right? Participatory democracy. It's a contact sport. And they want ways to do it. So learning from you and getting the education and from Legal AF, that's step one. And then it's also doing all the things we talked about. These databases that are being created by Congress, by New York, by New Jersey, the other blue states. So you can upload clips of things that you think are constitutional or other violations on the streets by ICE and Border Patrol. That's really, really important. Crowds, protests, contact with your elected officials. But just knowing that you two exist on planet Earth is also very comforting.
Thank you. No, you know what? And we're a fraction of the things that we see. Like, there's constantly every day people out there taking time, volunteering their time to go and stand with people at a Home Depot, or go and stand with the vendor, or go and take people groceries. And just acts of just humanness and kindness is all we really need in this world, and not this kind of reign of terror that's happening.
Some people are asking, Bob, I'm looking at the comments for our live, what's the name of the bill? So they can write to their representatives and support it.
I will send it to you because I have it screenshot, Mike, so I'll text it to you right after this.
All right.
But this is it's literally 5 or 6 pages, and it's a single issue. There's no pork on this barrel, right? This is literally one thing. And I like another one. There's another one written by Representative Norcross out of New Jersey, which is a body cam one, very simple. House the body cams for 90 days. If an incident happens, you have it for 3 years. We don't want to have political propaganda. We want to know exactly what's happening out there.
And we see that the Trump administration, when you change the political calculus and the weather in the room, they will bend. Now they're announcing body cams. Now they took out Greg Bavino.
It was right after it was funny. I did that reel talking about it, how we finally pushed it, and like an hour later, like, oh, we're going to do body cams now. It's like, come on, guys.
Yeah,
we've been here for
that's
years.
the public pressure. That's our audience. That's the pressure that forces them to change their political calculus, and it's all political calculus.
Yep. Hey, I want to introduce you to somebody else that's running for Congress, Bernard Taylor. So Bernard is actually in Florida 21.
Hey, how you doing? Hey, what's going on? How you doing?
So great. Bernard, we might have met. We might have met at a fundraiser. I think we did.
Possibly. I've been so many different places over the past year. I lose track, not gonna lie to you.
So you guys both were on the Bourbon Proof episode, but this gentleman flew up from Florida today just to be here to stand up, running for a Democrat, paramedic EMT that sees people in their worst conditions and in a hard red district and being outspent, outrun, but you're doing true grassroots, no big donors, just being in the community and standing up.
Absolutely. Taking that same public service mindset that I've been fortunate enough to be blessed with over my career and bringing it up here to be a true servant of the people. That's my goal, and each and every day I'm fighting towards it.
Yeah, and who are you running against? Who are you running against so we can support you?
Well, I'm running in Florida, Congressional District 21 against current Representative Brian Mast.
Okay.
Brian Mast, he's been a puppet for the administration pretty much.
Pretty much.
And what are the cities that we would know that district covers?
So my district covers North Palm Beach County, so cities like Jupiter, Palm Beach Gardens, parts of West Palm Beach, all the way up to Fort Pierce, Port St. Lucie, Stewart, Jensen Beach. Those are the major metropolitan areas in my district.
Great, great.
And unfortunately, even within his own, labor union, they tell the guy not to run because it's hard red. We don't want you to do it, and you're sick of it. I mean, what's happening in your district, man? Because you're in Florida, where they say everything's peachy toasty. There's no problem with immigration. What's going on there, man?
Well, the thing with Florida is, as you guys know, man, Florida is facing an affordability crisis, just like everywhere else in the country. In our state, we have a homeowners insurance crisis. Property taxes are continuing to rise, and people in the working class and below the poverty line are just not feeling any relief. And they're tired of being overlooked. They're tired of feeling like they don't have a voice. So it's my job and it's my goal to give a voice to those who feel like they don't have one, and standing up for the little guy, which is what I've been doing my whole life.
Yeah, and thank you, Governor DeSantis, for ruining everybody's insurance in Florida under the veil of tort reform. So
Yeah,
that's
I'm in Miami. I feel you. I hear you. But what I like about your district is it overlaps with the Southern District of New York Federal District. And we hear Fort Pierce, we think of Judge Cannon. When we hear Palm Beach Garden and everything, that's just over the bridge from where Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago is. So you have a very important. I used to live in West Palm Beach. You have a very important district there, and I'm glad you're jumping into the fire there, because we don't know what's going to happen if the people come out there's a pent up demand right now to vote against MAGA and Donald Trump. And you could get swept up into that and get swept right into office with the momentum that I think the Democrats have.
Well, what would be your first act? Like, what's a 1, 2, 3 for Bernard Taylor? Like, what do you want to get in here and kick ass doing?
Oh, definitely want to make sure we have more opportunity, start investing in our communities. One way I want to do that is through education and through actually providing workforce and trade programs. Obviously, we've seen one of the first things that happened in this administration was a tackle on Job Corps, which is one of the vital programs that actually impacted my community growing up, providing another outlet for those who weren't necessarily educationally inclined, but it still provided them an opportunity to earn a trade and be able to make something of themselves. So being able to invest in those programs and providing opportunity for young people, because if you look at the statistics in the state of Florida, Florida is not considered a state for young people to grow and thrive. We have 18 to 30-year-olds are leaving our state in tremendous numbers, and we want to make our state a place that they can feel like they can actually build, and not a place for people who are already established to come and boot us out. So establishing and investing in our young people, investing in education, investing in workforce opportunity is one of the main focuses of my campaign and what we're trying to do. And obviously, again, being that I'm a firefighter and paramedic down in my district, and healthcare is extremely important to me. Seeing the people I take to the emergency room, seeing how they have to use the emergency room as their primary care physician, not having the resources that they need just to be able to live healthy lives. So those are my two main things that I'm fighting for. I want to make sure that we invest in our communities in education and economics, and I also want to make sure we're actually fighting for real health care for every American.
And what will you do with me seeing the release of the Epstein files? Will you hold all these people accountable?
Absolutely. We've seen over the past week now all the different names from all the different backgrounds, whether you're red, blue, up or down, it doesn't matter, man. Everybody should be held accountable. In my line of work, I don't get to escape accountability whenever I make a mistake or anybody makes a mistake on the fire ground. So we should hold our elected officials and those in esteem to those same accountability measures, in my opinion.
Fantastic. We need you in Congress. And for those that are joining late, we're in the halls of Congress. Bob Simon is there. We got an oversight committee hearing that's coming up. It'll be live here on Legal AF. And for those that are following, the bill that we're supporting and that we've been talking about is the ICE and CBP Constitutional Accountability Act for Border Patrol and ICE. And it's being repped by Senators Merkley, Salinas, and Tran. And that's what we need passage of on the to stop the violations of the 1st, 4th, 5th, 14th, 2nd, whatever. All the amendments are being violated every day on the streets of America. All of them.
And don't forget that one of the most important amendments is also the 7th Amendment, the guarantee right by the trial by jury, so members of our community get to say what's right or wrong. As a trial lawyer, I will tell you, by picking juries across the nation, people are pissed off. They get it, and they will get it right most all of the time, and they do not agree what's going on with this administration. So when it comes
I got
to
another
right
one.
by trial,
I got another one. I think we should lead a class action that we're all the subject of the 8th Amendment. This administration is cruel and unusual punishment for everyone in America.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Look, it's affecting everybody in their community. All right.
Absolutely.
Thanks, man. Nice
Thank
seeing
you.
Always.
He flew up for just like 5 hours.
Yeah.
Look here, man.
He's on shift
love it.
tomorrow.
I'm already getting used to this. Like I said, I'm up in DC. I'm
Yeah.
back in Florida. I got a speaking engagement tonight, and then I'm on shift at the
Bernard, have
I'm
your
on shift at the
people
fire station tomorrow. So it's light for me right now.
have your people reach out to me at Legal AF. We'll get you on the show. All right.
Absolutely, we'll do. Appreciate you, Michael.
Yeah,
big
you
fan,
too.
brother. Keep
All
doing
right.
what you're doing.
I appreciate
All right, I think
it.
we have the Senate hearings. for
Yeah,
our
we're
victims.
gonna wrap, but
Yeah.
let me toss it over at 3:00 Eastern time. We're gonna do a live coverage of the oversight hearing. We'll try to grab Bob Simon,
Yep.
a plaintiff's lawyer extraordinaire, a good friend of mine. I've been on his podcast, Urban and Proof. We'll catch you after for some post game. Okay?
Yeah, and then they announced that they have the brothers of Renee Good are going to be testifying there as well. They will be in attendance for that Senate hearing. So
Fantastic.
I'm excited to share with you what we learned from all the victims, what
Yeah.
happened to them. So yeah, man,
We'll
thanks
get you
for fighting
back
the
on.
fight, brother.
Thank you very much. You too. Thanks to both of you. All right. So for Legal AF, 3:00 Eastern time, we'll have this oversight committee hearing. You just heard that Renee Good's brothers are going to be testifying there. We already know the new developments related to Alex Pretty, basically an invitation from a federal judge, Judge Tostred, for civil plaintiffs lawyers like Bob Simon and myself to bring that case immediately and to argue that there's been a destruction of evidence which could go against the Trump administration and lead to effectively them having a default judgment against them as a sanction for liability. And then we're only talking about a jury coming up with how big of a check should be written to the Alex Pretty family for the loss of their loved one. But we're all Alex Pretty, we're all Renee Good, and it's so heartening to see. And it's Democrats. It's not like we're blocking the red bag Congress people to come on Legal AF or to come in the halls of Congress right now and jump on the show. It's just that they are nowhere to be found. They're not leading from behind. They're not leading at all. But I'm glad that you're leading, you're participating here with us on Legal AF. Stay tuned the rest of the day for updates related to this bill, the Oversight Committee hearing, and the rest. In the meantime, I'm Michael Popok. Take a minute, hit the free subscribe button. If you like this kind of content, we're doing something new here, some sort of live guerrilla reporting, right, from the halls of Congress and press conferences. If you want more of that, leave it in comments. But more importantly, become a subscriber. Try to become a paid subscriber. Come over to Legal AF Substack, where we're running this week a 35% off sale so that you can become a member. There it is. We've already had 300 people join in the last 24 hours on this sale. Amazing content there. 2 lives a day that I do with guests and the rest. Otherwise, I will also see you later tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern time on the Midas Touch Network for my show, The Intersection. Special guest, Skye Perryman of Democracy Forward, to talk about her big victory in which she, because she represented with her organization 13 members of Congress, was able to obtain a federal court injunction to allow those members of Congress to do oversight over ICE facilities and not be blocked by Kristi Noem and the Department of Justice. More to come tonight on The Intersection, 8 p.m. Eastern time on the Midas Touch Network. Until then, I'm Michael Popok reporting. Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.